You're muted.
My bad. Welcome to another episode. I do that all the time. Welcome to another episode of You Left Shit Out. I'm your host, Compton J, and I'm joined today by two RBN comrades. Sabrina's coming later, but right now, what's up, JB?
It's good to see you, Jay, and it's good to be here with everybody. It's good to see all uh, in here today. I see a lot of familiar faces, so I am excited to see everybody. I'm like a puppy right now that's excited
Uh-huh.
to have guests over. I just hope I don't pee on the carpet.
Me too. But what AB said before we went started, he was like, "Wow, we have 63 people waiting already." Um, and I said, "This topic is a topic that plagues." It plagues our discourse literally every day in some way, where the left,
It
where
does.
the old left and the new left are having some sort of fighting or some sort of conflict or covering it on one of the shows. So after I had this debate yesterday with Hector, and he's a great person, great guy, didn't interview, but we debated the concept of the inside game, working with the Democratic Party. So anyway, after that debate, I wanted to see if there was another way we can try to reach out. If there's a way to coalition build, because when coalition building, JB, the hardest thing is finding somebody who believes in the ideology or the policies that you believe in.
Yeah.
And if we go by what is being said by the old left, a lot of what they say, we're not getting into the conversation about if it's true. I understand leftists are going to go that way. We're saying if we're taking them for their word and for what they're saying, then that means there's a lot of overlapping policy beliefs, right?
Yeah.
And even with talking with Case Study QB, shout out to Case Study QB for the General Strike Summit. Behind the scenes, it was like, man, this like I'm with both crews. Like I go on their shows, I go on your shows. I'm for General Strike. I'm for direct action. I'm for whatever is going to move the ball. And he's like, a lot of the beliefs are overlapping. So there should be a way that we can come together to do something big. It doesn't mean we're together forever. Whatever it is, I don't know what that is, and that's not the point of the discussion, JB. So let me start here. So let me just read a couple of things I wrote down for the show. So first, the old left. So as far as the left media structure, the reason I'm using them when I say the old left and not the people who follow them is because that's where it begins. They're the ones who are preaching, who are educating their audience. So that's why I'm using them as the faces of what I'm talking about. So the old left, Cenk Uygur, Sam Seder, Kulinski, Emma Vigeland, Nomiki, Konst. I hope I said your name right. I'm not purposely trying to say it wrong. Benjamin Dixon. Go ahead. If I said it wrong, go ahead.
Nomiki Konst.
Nomiki Konst. And I do apologize. I'm not intentionally doing that incorrectly. And David Doel and Michael F. I don't know how to say his last name. I don't want to mess it up. But from the Humanist Figuerredo. Thank you. From the Humanist Report. So and I want to say in my awakening, besides TYT and maybe Sam Seder, everyone else here, let me just say, because I didn't know Emma until recently. Nomiki, she's new. She's one of the newer ones. But Kyle, I watched all the time. Benjamin Dixon, JB, we used to retweet each other. Remember back in the day, like he used to retweet stuff that we did, and like so there's overlapping policies at a point, because I remember that. And then David Doe in the Humanist Report, I used to watch, back when they were rooting for Bernie.
Yeah.
Now all of the old left to me, still they're fine with teaming up with or eventually being a part of the Democratic coalition. To
Mm-hmm.
me, that's the difference between the old left and the new left. So,
Yeah.
and the new left thinks that I'm sorry, and the old left, they think that the new left is like, the dumb, the immature, because we're not willing to accept that this duopoly is the only way game in town, so we're just going to participate because we are. So to me, those are the huge, the chasm in strategy, and really it's in strategy. So
Yeah.
just to set kind of the foundation for the conversation, I just want to say this is not a trash the old left stream. That's not what I'm intending
Mm-hmm.
this to be. This is what I'm by the title that the old left is a problem. What I'm saying is there is a problem that kind of prevents us from being a coalition now, but there's a way that we could do things that could possibly um, allow us to team up with people with like-minded views on policy. So this is really just an hypothetical discussion that I'm just wondering if it's really um, possible. So JB, I'm gonna go to you before we kind of get into
Yeah.
questions and in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think of the old left and the new left in your mind, and whatever definition of the old left and new left is
Yeah.
yours,
Mm-hmm.
um, do you see? I want you to answer it not in the realm of reality, meaning like, is it possible? Is it hypothetically speaking? Do you see that possibility of old left and new left teaming up on some things?
God, that's a good question. Um, and it's funny because a lot of times, and we have been saying on RBN for the entire duration that we've been around that if there's somebody that has some points that we disagree on, but we want to walk together on certain things, on our terms, then we're willing to do that. And we said that about people who may have some right wing inclinations. Um, and it's like, well, what about people who have more left wing inclinations but aren't as far left as we are? Is that something that we can also do as well?
Mm-hmm.
And there tends to be a judgment on either side, and which I find myself guilty of too. But there tends to be a judgment on either side. So there's the one part where they are the quote unquote highly educated.
Mm-hmm.
They are the kind of elitist form. It's like, haha, you're not going to work within the Democratic Party. Well, you're idiotic. You're dumb. You guys just don't live in reality. We live in
Mm-hmm.
reality, and we have the degrees to prove it. And then you have the other side, which is more like us, who are looking at this side. We're like, yeah, no, you guys are being fooled by the Democratic Party, and plus you guys are being overly elitist, and plus you don't have a sense of urgency. I know what it's like to, be in fear of my lights getting shut off or being evicted because I don't have enough money. So you guys don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you ask us, it's like, well, do you believe healthcare is a human right? Well, they'll be like, yeah, of course. And you ask us, we're like, damn right, we believe healthcare is a human right. But then it always seems to be like this fight, and it's like, who's more left than the other, or
Right.
who's more realistic than the other. And it kind of like there's certain things where you go to and you're like, yeah, I understand that we have overlapping agreements, but at the same time, there's some things that to some of us are a deal breaker. Like being imperialist is a deal breaker, or having that imperialist undertone is a bit of a deal breaker for a lot of us. And so I'm kind of trying to represent the entirety of the left, but I it's kind of hard to, because there's so many different versions of those of us who are on the left. There's socialists, there's communists, there's anarchists, Marxists, Leninists, there's Maoists. There's so many of us.
Are democratic socialists considered the left, but on the other, like in the beginning part of the spectrum? Like if communism is at the furthest end or anarchy is at the furthest end, like is democratic socialism like at the beginning of leftism in your eyes?
From a world perspective, no, because they are really actually the center. From a global
world perspective, yes.
From a United States perspective, according to the right, they're the far left. It's weird. But looking at it from a global perspective, they're just centrists. So to me, the Mike Figuerredos, the Kyle Kulinskis, Nomiki well, I don't know about the Nomiki Konst. The David Doels, they're more the center. Dare I say, people like Cenk Uygur and Nomiki Konst and Sam Seder are actually center right. That's actually what I think of them as. And so anybody that is open to say, well, I'm a capitalist, it's like, yeah, you're center right at least, And
but what do we do when we live in a society, JB, where people say you define who you are? You get what I'm saying? Like the leftists in our circles call these people liberals, or boutique left, meaning they have the beliefs, but they don't. I don't know what the boutique where it comes from, but that's what they call them. Which, by the way, Case Study QB tells me is a slur. So this is the reason why I don't necessarily use it to refer to them. I never tweeted out that or anything like that.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting to, JB, is I understand you're saying to you they're center right, but what I'm saying is they identify as being left, and if we are able to self-identify who we are, and we're fighting for people like in the LGBTQ community, the trans community in particular, to say we're fighting for them to self-identify who they are. Why can't this group do that? You get what I'm saying? Why can't they do that? And listen, I am not advocating for it. I'm bringing up the question for the discussion, just as a way of trying to think of it logically. If leftists are about people being who they are and self-identifying, I think that's part of being who you are.
Yeah.
So add that part into your answer. Go ahead.
Well, okay. So I like what Eric said. They were never really willing to fight the power. I think that, and kind of taking what Eric just said and kind of meshing it with my own, it's, are you trying to work with the power, or are you trying to fight the power? And the thing is that it's almost as if sometimes I think that a lot of what we call the old left, they're still being played, and we keep telling them that they're being played, but they just don't understand that they are. And they keep thinking that there's no other route outside of going that route that the oligarchs mapped for them. And that's what it feels like. And to a lot of us, it feels frustrating, because we're trying to shake them by their shoulders and say, wake up. But it feels like it's almost a fool's errand to do so. But at the same time, you can't. And sometimes they'll say things that I'll be like, man, they're correct on this. And one thing I noticed is that, especially on social issues, they'll be right there with us. But for economic issues, it feels like when we're going at 100 miles an hour, they're going at 50. And it's like,
Right.
especially when it comes to
It's a lot of
economic issues.
strategy. Go ahead. It sounds like strategy is what you're describing.
Part of it, yeah. But as somebody who is disabled, living in poverty, yes, I do live in poverty, and is frustrated with the system. To me, it's like, yo, your strategy is not fast enough, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
efficient enough to get things done, so that I can actually have a dignified life in my lifetime, let alone the lifetime of my nieces and nephews. And so it's like, you're going according to the plans set out by the duopoly to improve things by tweaks around the edges. And we're saying, bump the tweaks around the edges, grab the goddamn machete, and let's start cutting him some shit. And so that's kind of
That's
where
kind
I
of what's going on.
see
Yeah.
myself
I
as.
see it too. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
I see what you're describing, but go ahead, continue.
No. And so this is one of the reasons why it's kind of like, I and I said this before. It's like, I did this a few months ago. I supplicated to them. I was like, look, we want you to use your platform for something bigger than just a duopoly. Like, for instance, we did a general strike summit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be lovely if they did a general strike summit? Because they really have a massive amount of people that watch their content. And what if they were pointing more towards mutual aid, like we point towards mutual aid? Then, and what if they were the ones who were trying to direct more attention to Green Party, or I'm sorry, not just Green Party, but third party, or direct action, alternatives. Let's say, for instance, they want to keep dealing with the duopoly. Okay, but it seems like that's all that they deal with. They don't diversify anything, within changing things. So that's the only thing that I see. It's just like, come on. It's like, you guys think that the solution is the Democratic Party when you could go other routes without leaving them,
Well, here's my thing. I'll pose this to the audience to speak on it. Sabrina will be joining us soon. It feels like they can't do what they want to do without us, and we can't do what we want to do without them. That's what it feels like to me. Let me rephrase that. It feels like we can't be successful at what we want to do because we can do it without them. But we can't be successful in what we want to do without a bigger coalition. Maybe not them. Let's take them out of it, but a bigger coalition. And I'm saying, if the easiest coalition to build is people who already believe in a policy, and that's the only reason we're even talking about this.
Yeah.
Right. So, they can't get non-corporate Democrats elected without us. We saw that with Nina Turner.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's why you also see the Marianne Williamson thing that's happening next week, who's trying to, you don't see anywhere on the flyer it says Democrat. It says non-corporate candidates because they're trying to get them elected. And then I also spoke with Hector also, who's also kind of working in that same sort of thing to get those same people elected. Yeah. So what I'm saying is can there be a coalition where they do what they do and we do what we do? Is that effective enough? Where we're not doing the same thing. We're doing what each side wants to do, but we're doing it in tandem. There's some sort of, hey, this is the goal that we're trying to reach. You're doing it from the inside. Meaning basically like this, just like Ocean's 11, you have somebody specializes in an area. They specialize in the managerial part of it. Yeah. We specialize in the groundwork and the people work. So I'm saying, or I'm sorry, if you disagree, this is just my assessment. If you disagree with anything, of course, say what you want to say. So,
of course.
So I'm just trying to figure out how to build our coalition the fastest. And what I'm saying is the
Mhm.
fastest way is with people who already have the belief. There's no convincing them of Medicare for all. They're already there. There's no convincing them of whatever else we agree on. I don't know what that is right now. You get what I'm saying? So that's the
Yeah,
easiest way than trying to go and trying to convince people. Oh, you like Obamacare? Well, let me convince you why that's bad. You get what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
So go ahead, JB. I said a lot. Any of that you want to comment on? If you see a comment you want to comment on, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking now about? It sounds like you looks like you're pondering maybe strategies, concepts. What you thinking, JB?
yeah. It is, part of it is a method of strategy. One thing I noticed about the old left is that none of them are actual socialists.
No, no. Is there
Um,
anybody close to it? You would say, if any of the people you could think of?
uh,
No,
that are
maybe not.
actual socialists, no.
That
And
claim to be socialist. Do no Cal? What does Kyle claim to be?
he's a democratic socialist.
That's what he still claim. Okay, I hadn't
Yeah,
heard him. I
he
haven't seen anything that he said that
yeah,
lately.
he's still the same realm as Bernie Sanders.
Okay,
Um, so and here's the thing with democratic socialists, they believe that capitalism should have a bridle on it, it should have reins on it, not be uh, obliterated. Versus
they
people
believe
like
in
you,
reforming. They think it's a
they
reform thing.
it's a reform. People like myself think that capitalism should be burned with fire, because
Yeah.
I see that even with, because the thing is that what is their goal? Their goal is Sweden, Norway, Iceland. That's their vision. While some of these countries still do things like imperialism, they still have, inequality in some way, shape, or form. They're trying to do better, but at the same time, it's like trying to keep that. It's like trying to maintain the cancer while still keeping the cancer. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, it's like, no, we need to operate and get that tumor out, as quickly as possible. So I think that's one of the number one things. Um, is
Could
that, but at the same time, there is some overlap. So it's like whenever we talk about something and we have a disagreement, I think one of the issues is that we tend to, for that one disagreement, we cut each other off. But some of the disagreements aren't just minor.
no, they're
That's
not.
that's the thing that I think, that's the major thing that breaks us apart, is these major disagreements on, like, for instance, foreign policy or something like that. Like, for instance, and this is something that I'll side with Kyle Kulinski on. He was debating Vaush, and no, you were there. He was debating Vaush, and Vaush was basically talking about putting sanctions, crippling sanctions on Russia. And Kyle Kulinski chimed in. He goes, "Well, that's going to harm a lot of people." I'm with Kyle Kulinski. No sanctions at all. Stop
Right.
with the sanctions, and let's get out of there, and let's cut the military by pretty much almost all of it. Let's do that. And which part of me thinks that, Vouch isn't even old left. Vouch isn't even left. But as far as people like Kyle, it's like, okay, I can match quickly and more efficiently with you, because it seems like he's kind of on the fence. I think he's kind of on the fence, but still supporting the Democratic Party. But it just takes one more shove for him to go,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? I'm done with them.
That's
But
Kyle. That's Kyle.
that's what Kyle. Um, because I just think he keeps trying to play that fence, and it's like, dude, I just feel like there's no way. But I don't know. Like I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong about the new people who are trying to come into the Democratic Party to change things. I hope I'm wrong. That's the thing. I don't want to be right about this stuff. Well, what I don't want to be right about is that things aren't going to change to the Democratic Party. But as we notice and we look towards history, what has happened in order to make things change? We basically forced the hand of the people that more closely aligned with us. It wasn't that we, but at the same time, that kind of goes into coalition building. I don't know. I'm kind of spitballing here, but it just sucks because I just wish there was more of a coalition. But it's just a lot of the major things that we disagree on. That's kind of, yeah.
Savvy's in the building. What's up?
I made
Elena?
it.
How are you?
Made it.
Savvy, your hair is looking quite regal today. Like,
yeah, looks good. And you look good too, JB.
Oh man.
I don't know if were you able to listen in while you were, or want us to catch you up with kind of where the conversation is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go ahead and catch me up.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to take this conversation, and this is for we just had another maybe 100 people come to the stream. So let me reiterate. I wanted to come at, approach the old left is a problem with a different approach, and trying to see if there is a way to coalition build with the old left and the new left. If there's a way we can find out how to do that. And then I just kind of said, I had a conversation with Case Study QB during a general strike where he said, the boutique left is a slur. And that really he was saying how he deals with both of us. He deals with the new left and the old left. And he said, hey, I'm for direct action like you guys with general strike. I'm there. And I'm also for them, like get in candidates that are better candidates. He's like, but he's like, there's a lot of overlapping policy, but there is a difference in strategy. But he was like, I think there could be coalition building. So, I had this debate yesterday with Hector, who ran for office as a non-corporate Democrat. He lost, but he saw like the video I did about the Marianne Williamson thing, and he was like, he just wanted to debate me about that. So anyway, after all of that, I wanted to have this conversation. I'm glad you and JB are able to come, and it seems like people are very, very interested in this conversation. Do you believe well, first off, let's take it back. Let me ask you the first question I asked JB. Do you think it's even possible that could even happen? Kind of like the poll question. Like, do you think it's even a possibility in the realm of possibilities? Do you see that there's policy overlap to where we can coalition build with them? What is your take?
Oh boy.
It's a lot.
Looking at like the people who are on that thumbnail, like in order to coalition build, it's gonna have to come from the people with the larger platforms. It's not gonna come from us. And the reason I say that is because they're the ones that have the largest audiences. And to be fair, they're the ones that seem to not want to do this. And what I mean by that is, for people who don't know, people will reach out to me and say, why don't you have a conversation with this person? Why don't you bring them on? And I'm like, you do realize these people pay absolutely no attention to us, right? And they know who we are. I just want to make that clear. They know who we are, but they have no desire to engage with people like us. And there's a couple of reasons for that. But the main issue I want to bring up is there's a class divide. There is a huge class divide on the left. In leftist commentary, there's a class divide, among all of us, right? So what I've often noticed is that it seems like if you look at all the people on that thumbnail, they're all a part of the same class for the most part. Some of those people are millionaires. Some of them came from wealth. They came from wealthy families. And what people have to understand is, as much as we want people to, hey, go out and vote third party independent, or, try to do direct action and mutual aid, that is not their brand. And they are not paid to talk about the class division. They are not paid to talk about racial division. They're not paid to talk about direct action and mutual aid. Their brand relies solely on keeping people in the duopoly and putting progressives through the Democratic Party. So when you see people like Anna Kasparian, she does a lot of speaking engagements. Those are paid engagements. Anna Kasparian is paid to push progressives through the Democratic Party. At the end of the day, this all comes down to money. They are not going to interrupt their flow of money. They're not gonna mess with that. This is why we're hearing like some of these liberal talking points this past year from people like Crystal Ball, people like Kyle. TYT has completely changed. Their message has completely changed because that's what they're paid to do. They know that these problems exist. They know that there's a sense of urgency from people that are part of the working class. But if you ever notice, you never see them bring those working class people on their shows. And there's a reason for that. They do not want their audience to hear some of the things that we say on this show. Because if their audience hears those things, then they're going to be pointing fingers at them and saying, why aren't you doing any type of mutual aid? Why aren't you coming to any of these protests? Let's remember, some of the people on this thumbnail smeared the marches for Medicare for All. Some of them smeared those marches for Medicare for All. The same people who have been telling us for years, we need Medicare for all for everyone in this country. Now, why would they do that? Because it was an event that was done outside of electoral politics. There's no money in that for them. There's no money in that for them to go to a protest. Like, people have to understand, there's some of us that are in this because we really want to create change and we want to get out there with the people. And then there are some people that they made a brand off of it. They're not used to getting out there.
That was my next question. Yeah. That was my next question for you. And you kind of went there, but let me ask it so you can kind of give more detail. And that is, and then JB, you can answer after Sabrina. You basically describe it as we're in this for improvement in life, and they're more in it as a it's like a way of life, like talking about it is like a way of life. It's like, something they do. Is you get what I'm saying? It's not them trying to personally get it done. Right. It's just them commenting on it, and that's their brand. Okay. So then let's bring JB in after. Let me see if I can articulate this question, because it's kind of is there a way that they could keep their brand? Oh, and let's take this off so we can see Sabrina. That they can keep their brand it's keeping their brand prevents them from any sort of coalition building, bar none. Meaning, like, there's no way around that. Like, as long as that's their number one thing, there's no other way. You're saying there's no other way. We can't coalition build with them, one, unless they reach out to us, and they don't have a motivation to reach out to us, because it's not to improve their personal lives. They already are living good. So being, espousing these leftist views is something they believe in, but it's not something they need to fight for. You get what I'm saying? Because it's not for them. So Sabrina, does that kind of sum up what you're describing? And if it doesn't, or if it does, can you further kind of, in your own words, kind of talk about that or talk to that point?
Right. They're not directly affected. Like, their lives are not impacted. And so someone mentioned in the comments, well, Kyle didn't smear the marches. No, he didn't. Like I said, some of the people on the thumbnail did. He advertised it. Humanist Report advertised it. But again, I feel like the only reason Kyle even mentioned those marches is because that's something where he was directly affected, because he talked about this before, that he feels the reason that, what happened with his father, it wouldn't have happened had we had Medicare for all. So again, he's directly affected. And this is what people have to understand. Someone mentioned Cori Bush, saying, like, why didn't you mention Cori Bush? She didn't come from money. Not everybody on here came from money, but look at where they are now. What are they being paid to do? This is the reason why you don't see the squad fighting. This is why you don't see them doing anything. Why do you think they're siding along with establishment Democrats? That's what they're paid to do. They're not paid to go in there and fight. If you were to talk to Cynthia McKinney about this, she will let you know anybody who comes into DC and actually tries to push back and tries to fight, they're pushed out. That's what happened to her. That's what happened to Ralph Nader. So again, we are looking at this as though we want to get out there and fight for people. We want to fight for these issues because these are tangibles that we actually need in our personal lives. Guys, they don't need it. At the end of the day, all of them, they have health care. I told you some of them are millionaires. Anna Kasparian is a millionaire. Cenk Uygur is a millionaire. I think even Kyle Kulinski, because Franco did a video on this, his net worth, he's million too. Crystal Ball's net worth is $44 million. So you guys got to understand, yes, they're going to tell us that we should go out there and push and fight for these issues. But will they go out there and do it? No, this is why you don't see them out there fighting. They don't need it. They're not fighters. And at the end of the day, if it comes time for a revolution, if we ever get to that point in this country, don't be surprised if you look around and none of these people who told you to go out and fight are not around. Their brand is solely based on putting progressives through the Democratic Party. That is what they are paid to do. And I think as soon as everybody understands that, then we'll realize why we do not have that coalition building.
That is a great point. And JB, you can go ahead and chime in if you off of her point, but I do want to add this in there. What if we're not talking about these people, but we're talking about the people who actually listen to them? Is it possible to coalition build with people who believe like these people believe? So they believe that, let's get more progressives in order to change the Democratic Party. Let's do it that way. That strategy. Is it possible to team up with those people, even if they still want to do that? You get what I'm saying? So JB, if you want to kind of, comment on what Sabrina said, and also if you want to comment on this last part. I think you are muted. Yes, it shows you're muted.
Yeah, I just want to get to some super chats really quick before I can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know Ashura left a super chat.
I saved a couple of them. If I saved like one or two of them, if you see in the comments where it says saved or stored, I think I only got to one maybe though.
Yeah. Thanks for the. I saw the super chat earlier, Ashura. That's way far up. And then we also got a $10 super chat just recently. I want to make sure I get to them because I don't want to miss out on those. Cool Blue says old left equals gatekeepers for Democrats. Thank you for that super chat. Let me go up here. Oh, okay. Michael Williams, thank you for the $10 super chat. It says the people you call the old left are first and foremost Democrats. They would never do against a fundamental position. I guess you meant to say they would never go against a fundamental position.
Mm-hmm.
That is why they hate Jimmy Dore so much, for an example. And thank you so much for that. I think I already showed this one from Richard Coates. Thanks for that super chat.
This will build. Their BS is shining through. Thank you for that comment.
And then this one, Marvy78 says, thank you for all the work in calling out these people. Thank you very much for that super chat. I need to start starring these so I can save them so I can start doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Nick
Yeah.
told me I got that from Nick where I'm gonna just start these comments that I want to bring back up later.
Yeah.
Ah.
So yeah.
Thanks to Oz. And then I just want to make sure that I get Ashura's because I don't
Ashura
want to miss her.
Ashura
Yeah.
always sends love, so thank you for that.
Yeah, Ashura always comes through.
Yes, absolutely.
I just want to make sure because I want to because I appreciate our audience and actually it's actually kind of a good segue actually because I do want to comment on what you just asked me, but it's also a good segue into like why like aren't they usually talking to their audience live like we talk to our audience live. That's a question that needs to be asked. It's just like, wait a minute, why don't you guys talk to your audience live? Because the thing is that our audience will let us know.
They've tried that like once or twice and it didn't go well.
Okay. Ashura said,
yeah, it's the old way.
Yeah, this is one of the ones that I missed. Thank you so much, Ashura.
Oh, this is great.
And there's another one from Ashura that's way far up.
Boutique is French for shop, so they window shop. So now I understand the concept behind the nickname at least. And thank you for that. I do want to put this up, JB, just to shout that out. Harden is going to Philly for those sports fans. That is pretty big news. Harden is going to Philly, so yeah.
That's great for my family because my family's in Philly. So okay.
Yeah, so they could actually go. They could actually go to the NBA to the finals now, I think. And then there's a couple of another couple of ones that I had starred. If you're pro establishment, you're not left. And Sabrina, this was another part of the discussion that we were talking about earlier, where I get where people who are in our community, technically can break down how, by definition, they're not a leftist. I get that, or the left. They're not leftists. I don't think they claim that, but they do say the left. So, but in a world where we're promoting people to kind of define yourself, and I gave an example of like even our trans brothers and sisters. The fight is them being themselves and being able to determine who they are. You get what I'm saying? So why can't we take who we call the old left for their word? If they call themselves progressives or leftists or whatever, we just call them that. Can you kind of speak to that point or speak to that that concept or that idea?
Because one of the things I noticed, like after Biden won, for some of them, their rhetoric started to change. All of a sudden, they wanted to promote Joe Biden, which I said, again, this is not a good idea. Before he'd even started doing anything, their rhetoric started to change. They were like, well, we should commend Joe Biden. I don't think most of them have been critical of the squad in the way that they should have been. I think they've given them too many passes. But again, they're not going to be heavily critical of them because then that means that they're not going to have access to them. They still want to have them come on their shows. Nina Turner was just on Majority Report, I think about a week ago. So they still want to have access to those politicians. And in order to have that access, you can't really overly criticize them. You can critique them here and there, but you still have to present to your audience that they're still going to fight for us and you should still support them. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Now we have another election year, and now they're asking people again, donate to these new progressive Democrats.
Right. Yeah. And I had Hector on my show yesterday, and this is the very point that he was making. These people are different. And it was so weird because he was saying because I was, the first thing I was like, well, look at the progressives who are in office now. Like, why would these new ones be different? He was like, don't base what this strategy is off of the progressives who are in Congress now. And I'm like, well, who else, what other evidence do we have to look to as far as getting these people in? So basically, he's basically describing where we need to have faith that these new people are going to stick to their word in a way that others have not, like AOC saying, "Oh, I'm not going to vote for Pelosi," and then she ends up doing it. So it's hard. It's like, because we know a lot of the candidates who are running. Some of them were at our general strike, even during Strike Summit, and they're not. It's not a critique. And this is what I said yesterday. It's not a critique on you as a person. It's just the team you're joining. I can't, support that. But what are your thoughts, JB? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people who I like, but the thing is that they're running for the Democratic Party, so I really can't support them. And look, I'm poor. I don't have time to go that route. That's the thing that people don't understand. I got to reapply for my food stamps, and they're going to cut my food stamps down because I only get $30. And they're going to cut it down because of that little 5% increase in disability money that I just got. Look, I live in the hood. This is not like, you guys may see me on YouTube, but I still live in the hood. 32839. That's Val Demings, and not the nice part of Val Demings district. I live in the part where Orange County, Sheriff's Department is out here all the time. And so I was like, I can't wait. My boyfriend doesn't have health care. What about him? What about my brother? My brother is literally homeless right now. Like I look, if something were to happen to my disability, I'd be homeless now. Like I don't have the luxury of waiting. And I do like what Sabby said. The thing is that there's a class divide, and it's like, and I understand that they want to do it. And the thing is that it's not like they don't want to do it. It's just that they want to go about it slower. And we can't afford slower. Mm-hmm. This planet can't afford slower. And I think that's one of the things. It's like, it's like, for instance, I haven't been to the dentist since I was 12. I need to go to the dentist. And thank goodness I got to get off my ass and use my Medicaid. But but even with that, there's limiting, and so you can only do so much. And those of us who are poor, it's like, it's almost like, it's like the house is burning on fire and they got a squirt gun and they're like, all we guys do is just squirt some more. Just keep squirting and we'll eventually put the fire out. And we're like, no, get the fucking, big ass hose.
The biggest hose you can get, yeah.
break open a fire hydrant and spray it on that motherfucker. Because guess what? We're burning out here. And it feels like they're trying to spray a burning house with, and the progressives are trying to spray it maybe with a super soaker. But what good is that going to do? And that's what it feels like. And so many of us are in either my situation or an even worse situation. And we're just it's frustrating because it's just like walking behind, it's like,
do we have to do the same thing? Do we have, like we were talking about this earlier, but let's bring Sabrina in. Do we have to, Sabrina, in order to be in coalition, be doing the same thing? Like, do we have to? So we're not necessarily talking about the people in the thumbnail, but just the people who are willing to vote for Democratic Party, who have our beliefs. Do we have to do the same thing in order to be in coalition? Like, can they go ahead and vote in progressives and we go ahead and do our direct action can that work? Or, and I said this earlier, or is it, we need more people to successfully do the things we want to do, and they need more people to successfully do the things they want to do, meaning, elect, non-corporate. They can't elect them without us. And I think Nina Turner is kind of an example of that. And we absolutely need more people willing to do direct action, willing to protest, willing to do these things. So we need people too. So, if you could kind of marry, those two together, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna say this. The other night, there was a stream. Katie Halper did a stream with 2 candidates, and I'm just gonna tell you the live chat comments. It was really hard to find a positive comment. I think this is a breaking
Wow.
point. I think this is a dividing line. And I think it's again, I think it's coming down to a class issue. We are in a different situation than we were in 2015. Like this type of rhetoric in 2015 put progressives through. Times were
Right.
different back then. Like now we have a pandemic, a lot of people are unemployed, unhoused, like things are worse economically. So now we have people who are part of the class divide, the working class. A lot of us are just like, no, we're not gonna do this anymore. I gave money to AOC. I gave money to Bernie Sanders. A lot of us, a part of the working class, canvassed for the squad and canvassed for people like Bernie Sanders. The people that you're seeing on these large platforms, most of them did not. And that's what they don't understand. Like they didn't really go out and do any type of work. So for those of us who put all this energy and physical work into it and donate our money to them, I'm sorry, I don't have money to give to another progressive candidate anymore. I just can't do it. I knew people that gave their last 10, their last $5 to help get Bernie Sanders elected. And it's just, that's what they don't seem to understand. And then to hear Sam Cedar when he's debating Jackson Hinkle say, I did not donate to AOC, and to say that he doesn't care, that should be a wake-up call to anyone watching this show. They told us to do these things. They told us to donate to them, and they told us to go out there and help volunteer and canvas for them. Meanwhile, they sat at home. So no, I'm not giving my money to those candidates. So in reference to them doing their thing and us doing our thing and still having coalition together, based on the comments that I saw in that live stream, I think we're already past that point.
We're
I
past
don't
that.
see
Wow.
it
Can you
bridging
kind of
together.
talk about those comments a little more? Do you like they were were the comments like bad about the Democrats or those specific candidates on the show?
It wasn't about the candidates on the show. It was about the strategy, about putting progressives through the Democratic Party. And the comments were so like to the point, like at one point I had to stop watching because I honestly I kind of felt bad for them, because it's not about the individual candidates that are running, you guys.
Right.
Like I've interviewed a lot of those people. I
They're
think
good
they all
people.
have good intentions and they mean
Yeah,
well.
they're good people.
The problem is the system that they are going into is designed in a way for them to fail. It is not designed for them to succeed. This is why the squad doesn't do anything. This is why they don't push back. So everybody says they're a good person and they have these great ideas before they get in, but then once they get in, they're corrupted too. It's the system. So my question that I have for Hector when he was on yesterday is, if you know that the money is the problem, the money is what's causing the corruption, is there any strategy to get the money out, or is there any strategy to prevent this from happening in the future? Because all these people were saying Nina Turner lost because all this dark money came in, but you know that is going to happen. So what is the strategy to fix the money problem? And I don't hear them talking about that.
Hang on. Just to put in a fact. Nina Turner actually outspent Chantel Brown.
There you go.
So she had the money. So that wasn't really the issue. It was more of, it's like, how did Bernie Sanders do so well, but then, Nina Turner didn't? And the thing is that part of it was because, it's like you're willing to water yourself down in order to try to appeal to those people, versus it's like, no, you should double down instead in order to appeal to the people who are poor, because they'll come out, and so that's what it feels like. Because to be honest with you, Nina Turner actually had more money than Chantel Brown.
But they didn't mention that. You see what I'm saying? Like they have the largest like audiences, so their message is getting out to more people, and they're not telling the whole story. And that it's really disappointing. It's really frustrating, because at that point, then I might as well just watch mainstream media. But tell the truth, tell the whole truth. Be critical. Like when they mess up, mention that they mess up. I criticized things about Bernie Sanders' campaign. I said there were some things that I felt like I felt like he messed up with not having a reparations plan. I was vocal about that. Like,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to criticize them just because you're afraid they're not going to come onto your show. And I think now, with the exception of Crystal and Kyle's show, they don't go onto anyone's show anymore except for Majority Report and TYT. So you had all these left independent media platforms that propped them up and gave them attention. And then once they got in office, they were like, okay, bye, peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead, JP.
Yeah, I was just looking at I was looking at this this comment in the chat. It says Chantel got a lot of free press and Nina got a lot of free negative press, to be fair. And yeah, that's probably true too. You know, but
do you think do either of you think Nina Turner lost because she turned her back on the leftist community, like us? Because you know, I don't know a lot of people who voted for her who said, "Oh, I'm going to go out and vote for her." So, do you believe she lost because she didn't have enough support from the left?
I think, unfortunately, she ran right after the whole force the vote, and the squad, I think, there was another bill that came about. I can't remember which one, but the squad had decided like not to use their leverage and vote as a block.
Right.
And so people were becoming more disappointed with the squad at that point. And then she started running. So I hate to say it, but had the squad been a little bit more assertive and pushed back on some of these pieces of legislation, I think that more people probably would have been more hopeful about Nina Turner's race. But I think part of it was the squad, and part of it was like, how did we go from Medicare for all to access to healthcare? They don't even talk about Medicare for all anymore. What do you mean access? So they're watering down their message. I don't know why they followed this playbook, because Nina Turner was a part of Bernie's campaign. So she knows what it takes to get the people to really come out for you, right? So I just didn't understand that. The new ad that's out now, because I know she's running again, it's just watered down.
But I do notice, because I think you said you saw her, I forget what show you said, but I saw her on Breaking Points a few weeks ago, which I didn't see her go on these shows in the initial campaign. So it's almost like she's trying to a little bit, reach out to a couple of people left leaning that she didn't before, but she's not going as far as reaching out to people like us or reaching out to people like with our sort of thinking. But let me bring up the poll as we continue this conversation, so that I put out a poll just to get everybody's idea about this topic. I mean, the question is a coalition possible between the old left and the new left? Right now, what are we sitting at? 480 votes. 22.5% says absolutely not. We cannot build a coalition. It's not possible. 18.8% says absolutely yes. This is the biggest one. It's unlikely, but possible. That's the biggest one. And then the final one is relationship is too fractured, and that's roughly 9%. But the biggest one is that it's unlikely. And by saying unlikely but possible, how I read that is, the reason we're saying it's possible is because we have a lot of some overlapping policy beliefs. But it's unlikely because of the state of the relationship we have, or because there is policy differences that are big enough to separate us. Like there could be one or two just major issues, even though we agree on a lot of other issues, but these one or two issues are so big that we just can't team up together. Your thoughts, JB or Sabrina?
Go ahead, Sabrina.
I just think, again, I think it's going to have to come from the people that have the largest platforms. And you have to look at what's happened in the past year. We have people who are calling themselves leftists that are now for imperialism, that are now preaching, have pro-war rhetoric. And these are the people that they're bringing onto their shows. These are the people that they're platforming. So again, what do they all have in common? They are all a part of the same class. Vosh, is a part of the same class. Hassan Piker is a part of the same class. And that's what I really want people to get. At the end of the day, it is about the money, and people protect their class. So when it comes to the working class people, here's a question for everybody. Why don't you see someone like Afeni, who's doing her work on the ground in DC? Why don't you see someone like Rome, who goes across the country doing tour for the poor? Why don't you see those people on TYT? Why don't you see those people on Majority Report? They don't bring on working class people. They bring on people who are part of their class and are like them. This is why the true message doesn't really get out unless you are a part of that class. So for a lot of the people who are viewers who may be a part of the same class as them, they don't see it. They don't see it. If you don't interact with working class people, you don't see these things happening. Like those of us, a lot of us on this panel, we know what it's like. Like I know what it's like to have to work 2 jobs. I know what it's like to wonder, like, oh, am I going to be able to pay my rent? Like, come on. Like I entered 08 during the housing crisis. I graduated during that time into the housing crash. So I know what it was like to struggle. And I just feel like, again, if you weren't already coming from money, you don't understand. You don't get it. And I think had it not been for the pandemic, repeating these same talking points from 2015, 2016, it will probably go over well with a lot more people. But now, nah.
So since you saw the reaction on the Katie Halper show with the candidates she had. I mean, so what would you predict is going to happen with the Marianne Williamson event? Like, do you think she could have some of the same issues? Maybe not on the same scale, because you're describing a people that is fed up. Like, no, we're not doing the democratic thing. So I'm wondering, there goes JB. I'll go to you first, then JB. So I'm wondering if, JB, do you think this event Marianne Williamson is having could have some of the same results that Sabrina described that happened on the Katie Halper show?
I was just pointing to me because I was just one of those people that was fed up. But
then it makes you a great person to answer the question, though. Go ahead.
Well, look, I don't want to mean to sound like one of those, oh, bless your heart type of things.
Yeah.
But they mean well. It's like, but as the old phrase goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? And so they mean well, and and a lot of times you'll have them, and they see the suffering of people. They're like, "Oh, we got to do it. We got to help people out." And it's like, but you guys been going the same direction for a while now, and nothing's changed for us. And there's going to be the same people that are saying, that they're fed up in our chat right now. They're going to be in that chat too, and they're going to be saying the exact same thing. There's not going to be any division or delineation between what they're saying to us and what they're going to be saying to them. And it's just like, was it a couple weeks ago, right after Jackson Hinkle debated Sam Seder, they started reading comments in the chat on their lives. And then Emma Vigeland was like, what is up with everybody today?
Yep.
And my thing was, where have you been for the last year? Because people have been saying this for a while now. You're just now finding out that everybody is fed up with the Democratic Party. And the thing is that this is now becoming more of a wake-up call for them, because we've been riding this train ever since RBN started. We've been struggling along.
That's true.
And now there's like a shock. And this is one of the reasons why I said earlier, if they started doing live streams and started actually talking to their viewers, they would hear a lot of people saying, we're done, we're finished. And so I think this is one of the wake-up calls that they're going to see. It's not going to be good. It's going to hurt. But at the same time, I hope that they grow to that moment, But at the same time, I'm not going to presume their intent as being nefarious. I do think that they mean well, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes you can mean well, but still go about it the wrong way. You know what I mean? So that's what I think.
Yeah, I think it
Right.
was a
So go
surprise.
ahead, Sabrina. Go ahead.
I think it was a surprise because they were reading the comments in on that stream, and I think
Wow.
there was a bit of a shock. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, not everybody's going to join because they're for the event. Some people are going to join because they're not
Oh
for
yeah,
the
that's
event.
true. That's true. That's true. That you know what? Now that you say that, Sabrina, because that happens a lot. That happens a lot. You look at a stream and you think, "Oh, this person." No, they're there in there because they're against that person or that topic. That is
Yeah.
a great point. And hey, I started out kind of optimistic that a coalition could be built, and then the two of you have talked me out of that completely. That yeah, it's not looking it's not looking like man, it's not looking like it's just so
But
frustrating to me because we like what we want to do, we need more people. Like we need more
yeah.
people, so we're gonna have to, this not gonna stop us. Like we're still gonna. I was just trying to see if this was a possible way of gaining more people. But go
But
ahead, JB, if you were gonna say something.
but CJ, I want to be wrong, dude. That's the thing. It's like it kind of hurt when you said that just now. It's like you guys convinced me that it's not possible. I'm like, damn. I'm just like, but at the same time, it's like, I don't. I wished I want to be wrong. You guys just don't realize how
Right.
wrong I want to be, and it's just I'm just trying to be as honest as I possibly can and call the balls and strikes
Hmm.
as I see them. And if somebody can come in and be like, well, no, JB, there's this way and there's that way, I'm open to listening. But at the same time, it's just, I don't see it. And if I
Yeah.
can get to the super chats really quick,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have a few starred already. Um, Pete Saturday said the old left seems to be more concerned about their own careers and connections before issues.
Mhm.
In my opinion, they view channels like yours as a threat to their success. It's interesting, and thank you for that. Appreciate it. Money Making Bear says, I believe we need to try to reach out to those you mentioned. TYT is a waste of time. Our side is promoting civil disobedience and direct action, and the names you mentioned fear the repercussions. That's a really good point. And I know that. Arthur Handy says, actually, NT got more small. Oh, Nina Turner got more small dollar donations than uh,
Chantel Brown.
Chantel Brown.
Yeah.
But Chantel Brown got a flood of more PAC money and dark money.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you
So
for
the
clarifying.
overall total, Chantel had more because of the outside money, is what this person is saying, I believe. I
I
believe that's
guess.
what they're saying. Yeah,
I
dark
guess.
money came in, and
Yeah.
that's what Nina Turner kept saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. Ashura says, if Trump could reverse negative press, so why can't Nina? Any press is good press. Use it to your advantage without towing the line and bending. That's a really good point, Ashura. I do appreciate that.
But
Justin
just
Johnson.
think. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Oh
I thought
no,
that was the last
go
one. Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say, it was just jarring because when you brought up Nina, what I thought was, just think about, she's running to join a party that's actively trying to not get her elected. That is
Including people who say they're
bizarre.
progressive.
Right,
Including
that
people
is
who say they're progressive, because
yeah.
Camilla Jayapal is out there promoting Chantel Brown instead of Nina Turner.
Exactly. So you saw that. So now tell me, Sabrina, did you see more than the Medicare for All shout out? Was it more support, but beyond that? Because that's all I saw.
I
But
just
to
saw
me, that's
the Medicare for All one, but that still didn't make any sense because Nina Turner was the one promoting that way before Chantel
exactly.
Brown was.
And I had the same critique because Pramila Jayapal knows that Chantel Brown is just virtue signaling. She knows that she's just signing on to that on a bill that she knows is never going to come up for a vote. So why would a real progressive give this person props for virtue signaling when you have a person like Nina Turner? So I took it the same way as she's signaling she's going with the corporate party. And this, to your point, Sabrina, and this also to another point, this is kind of, I guess, explains what happened on the Katie Halper show. The problem is you have the squad that's not a good example of electing more progressives. You get what I'm saying? Like, if the squad was doing something better, they aren't proving that the strategy of electing non-corporate Democrats work. And that's the problem for the candidates right now, is that the squad is literally like tearing down any paths for any other progressives to get there right now in this specific, maybe in another election, but in 2022, I'm not sure. JB, what do you think about that?
Okay, so the problem with us isn't, I think they're trying to get as many victories as possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to us, the victory's in the fight. So it's just like, we don't care if you lose as long as you fight.
Right.
Including against your party. If you went down swinging, it's like, we'll be behind you. Be like, yes, you went down swinging. Good. You went up against them. Like, even if forced to vote failed, we would still be behind. How many of us would still be behind them if forced to vote actually happened? Even if they failed, we would still be like, yeah, we got some G's in the house. Let's go. Yes. You know, let's just get more of them. And then we would be like that.
And then they will be able to promote these candidates. Look, we just need a few more. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, CJ. But that's the thing. We don't see the fight. And that's part of the problem. Right. It's like, they're like, we're going to fight against the Democratic Party. And then next thing you know, they run away. And it's like, why are you running? You guys said that you guys wanted to fight. And that's one of the things that I think that's part of one of the reasons why a lot of us are just like, the hell with them, because we see them as, you know, like people in the country say, yellow belly, you know? And so we're like, you know, no, we're just going to stay outside of them because they're not actually willing to fight. And so, and it's almost like every single time somebody goes, I'm going to fight and I'm going to go into the Democratic Party and I'm going to call them out. As soon as they get in, well, I don't know if we should be so rude to the Democrats and we got to have civility and all that. And it's like, what happened to Bernie? We're looking at Bernie. What happened? The civility argument was bullshit. And the thing is that honestly, look, and you know, what did Kyle Kulinski say? He said they were supposed to go in and be like a bull in a china shop.
But see, that's what bothers me about like this event that's coming up is like, and I have nothing against Katie Halper or Marianne Williamson. I've interviewed Marianne Williamson before. I think she does a lot of good things like for people in the community. But what kind of like worried me is the language that's used, because it reminds me of like Justice Democrats when they were like, it's going to be a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party. And I'm like, I don't want people to get their hopes up again, only to be crushed and disappointed again because of the language that was used. So that's the thing that concerned me about this. I'm like, please don't say takeover. Please don't say those kinds of words, because people are going to get excited again and then they're just going to get disappointed. And I just, again, it is not the candidates. It's not the number. We have the numbers that we need right now to implement change. They're not doing it because of the system that's in place. And that's why I said you have to get the money out. And I don't see anything changing until then. And so when people say, well, if I'm not going to vote Democrat, who am I going to vote for? Lawrence O'Donnell said this best. Continuing to vote for Democrats. If you keep doing that, they're never going to change. The party is never going to change. You have to put pressure on them by direct action, mutual aid. You have to get out in the streets, and not voting for Democrats and choosing to vote for the independent or the third party candidates. You have to take the votes away from the Democratic Party. If you continue to go out and vote for them, they don't feel like they need to. Why do you think Joe Biden's doing nothing? Nothing. He's done nothing for us. We everybody went out there and gave him their votes. And what has he done?
Yeah. Yeah. Can I just to bring out this
Go ahead.
super chat? Justin Johnson said, I agree with Cenk on one issue, the money. We have to go after the money. We need a new resource-based currency, overturn the Federal Reserve note before the BRCs do it. Otherwise, we lose all leverage in rewriting the rules. Okay, thank you very much for that super chat. And there's another. There are more super chats that just came. Super chats just came in. I want to make sure I get to that before we move on. Cryptician says, "Why are we not taking over the Green Party?" I'm not saying why are we not supporting them. I'm asking why are we not taking it over? It is pure progressive fruit, ripe for the picking. Hashtag take over the Greens.
That is a good question. Do anybody know why? So when we how I'm reading that question is like if you're trying to literally take over a party, why isn't the Green Party a target? Do any of you know, or if you have an opinion on that, Sabrina or JB?
That's a good question. I think sometimes, a lot of times, people don't think about the Green Party. They're forgotten about. They don't have a lot of advertisement. They don't have a lot of promotion. I'm sorry, I don't think that Howie Hawkins was a good candidate for them to run for 2020. I think there were better people. Jesse Ventura was up for grabs for that, and they were like, "No, we don't want you on." I think that was a bad idea. I said this before. For third parties, you need someone that's really well known, someone that's popular, somebody like Cornel West. Somebody that can bring out the younger generations and the older generations, but they weren't going to get it done with Howie Hawkins, and they knew that. And I just felt like that was not not cool for them to do. They knew damn well Howie Hawkins was not a good candidate.
Why aren't third parties more organized? Like, why is that? Like, when I'm trying to organize this third party summit, and they don't even know what candidates are running. Like, I can't even get candidates. It's just so bizarre that the left wants third party candidates, but the third parties, like, it doesn't seem like they necessarily have it, like, have it together. But JB, did you have another super chat? I know we cut you off in the middle. Did you finish those?
Yeah, I finished the super chats. Yeah.
Okay. So I did want to just bring up the thing that we were talking about. So this is the left takeover. And again, like I said on the stream, like, I don't have a problem with, I don't know this person on the far left. Bree is a friend of the show, friend of the network. She was on the general strike. I don't have no problem with her. Katie Halper, I think we reached out to her, conflict in the schedule. I don't have necessarily a problem with, Crystal Brawl. There are some takes I don't agree with it with. And I don't know Marianne Williamson enough to have much of a critique of her. But the event, and I consider this like sort of funneling leftists to the Democratic Party. I do have a critique for, and it's not the candidates. I keep having to reiterate this. Like, it's not the candidates. The candidates are some of the great people. The candidates are, and that's not the issue. But on that that graphic, this was your comment, JB.
Yeah.
Are some of the candidates third party? In my opinion, they all need to be third party. Anything else seems like a waste. Mix them with direct action initiatives, and maybe something will happen. But I'd rather this be a direct action event instead, because we know politicians don't work. And what you're saying doesn't fit into Marianne Williamson's reality of the situation. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's not anything bad necessarily about her. It's just that she does see she does see value in getting progressives in the Democratic Party, whereas we don't. And this is, I guess, like, the biggest difference. Go ahead, JB. Go ahead.
But what about progressives outside of the Democratic Party?
True.
That's my question. It's like, what about outside? Like, do they realize what a tool it could be to have people of other parties that come in and show up the Democratic Party? I'll give you an example. And you're a husband, so you'll get this one. You ever have well, I'm not gonna point this your direction because I don't want to make you look
yeah,
bad.
absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But if you have a spouse and you get your spouse something for, let's say Valentine's Day, which is coming up, but then your spouse's friend gets them something for Valentine's Day, but it's way bigger than what you got your spouse. And then you feel like, I got to do better. I have to show up. Like, what the hell? It could be like that with the Democrats if you get somebody who's third party in. But the thing is that, and we always talk about, oh, we got to strengthen third parties, but it's like, you're not giving attention to them right there. Like, like you have the opportunity to give them, what happened?
You reminded me I still got to get something for Valentine's Day.
It's Monday.
Me too. Sorry, babe.
It's
I love you.
Monday. Who will watch is a question that who's gonna watch that stream. There'll be people watching that stream. Yeah. I'm sure she'll get a good amount. Go ahead.
I did miss a couple super chats. Jay Rosales, I'm sorry. I saw that we missed your super chat. I do apologize. Jay says, idea should start a series called Bridging the Left Divide, or something where you can invite old left people and have a conversation. Would be good to watch. I'd be down to talk. I'm not against talking. I don't know about either one of you, but I'm not against.
Yeah, talking. I'm down for talking. And now let me just break down, make sure we're talking about the same thing. I'm not necessarily talking about the people on the flyer when we say old left. I just mean people who think in that way, that we're still trying to team up with the Democratic Party, but they want Medicare for all, and they want, they want all the things we want, but they still want to do it through the Democratic Party. So I hope that's what you're saying, bridging the divide, because if we're talking about bridging the divide with other leftist media people, that's not going to happen. They, like Sabrina said, they would have to reach out to us, and they're not going to do that. Why would you reach out and bring somebody, a leftist, on your show that's better than you, that's better at a leftism than you? You get what I'm saying? So they're not gonna, they're of course not gonna do that. Go ahead, JB.
Well, I wouldn't say better left. I wouldn't say better leftist, but
you're right. You
know what?
Leftist that's doing more, not a better leftist, but a leftist that
more involved, I should say.
More involved. That is a better way of saying it. So I did misspeak. That was a bad way of saying that. Better leftist.
I mean, your waves are better. I'm just saying that.
Yeah. What did you say, Sabrina? Though I didn't get that.
Jordan Sheridan came on recently and he said that he's kind of tired of the whole like division thing, and he thinks that if we just put the personalities aside, he is actually up for that. He would be up for that.
What we're talking about now, kind of like what he's up for, the meshing of both. Okay.
Yeah, and he actually suggested, he said he thinks that it would actually be more beneficial if everybody on the left, if all of us were on one network, even if it was something that was not a part of YouTube. Kind of like how TYT, they're on YouTube, but TYT also has a cable channel and something else, I think. But he was talking about that recently to me, that he said that he's kind of tired of like the split division, and he actually would like it if everybody could come together. And I told Jordan, I said, well, Jordan, you got to talk to the people with the big platforms, because they're the ones that don't collaborate. The smaller channels, we collaborate all the time.
Sabrina, let me ask you this, because you're really good at finding information on reaching out to people, and RBN, I think, is good at doing summits. Do you think RBN could put together something that brought together people like, the Nomikis, and the Benjamin Dixons, along with the Fiorellas do you think that is even possible? Do you think it's possible for all of us to kind of get on a stream and just have a conversation about why is it so much conflict, that sort of thing? Like, you think that's possible?
I think it's possible. I think like Nomiki, I have Nomiki's contact information. I think in order for that to work, and I hate to say it, you're going to have to get people who are friends with them to convince them to come on, because a lot of times that's how it works in this space. So and so is friends of so and so. So if person A comes on RBN, then their friend is more likely to come on RBN. A lot of times that's how it works. This is why if you try to look up contact information for some of those people, you can't find it. Like for me, that I think that was the hardest part in the beginning, was finding contact information for people. And you can't DM some of them on Twitter, and then some people don't check their DMs. So a lot of times it helps if you have somebody who already knows them that can make an introduction for you. Because some people might get a little hesitant because they're like, what's going to happen when I go onto that show? You know what I mean? But
right.
I think,
And so is there a way to make it neutral? Is there a way to make it to where this is something I don't know the answer. I'm just posing it. Is there a way to make it to where it's not like, you know what I mean? It's like a neutral stream. We're just doing, I guess there's no way to do that.
well, kind of like, I think we would need a moderator for one.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
I think what's important is to bring it back to the issues. And again, I think the problem we're going to run into, and I ran into this myself in the past, some people don't want to be on panels with certain people. Like it's really ridiculous. So there may be some people, if they see, I hate to say it, but if they see that Jimmy Dore is affiliated with this, they're not going to participate. And that's unfortunate. And I think we need to get past that. And like I've said this before, like I may disagree with some of those people that we were talking about, but if you're doing an event and it's about the issues, of course I would be a part of it. I'm not going to be like, I want to be on there because so-and-so's going to be there. I'm not like that, but unfortunately some people are.
Yeah. Go ahead, JB.
I'm going to be first to say it. If many of the people who are on the thumbnail organized a Medicare for All march, I'd be there. I'd be there because it's about the issues. If they were an anti-war rally, I'd be there. If it were a rally for, getting a living wage, I'd be there. But because it has to be about the issues, Also, just to give out the super chat, Citizen World also says, stay inclusive, stay free. Thank you so much for that super chat as well. But yeah, it's just, I just want to stick to the main enemy. And to me, the main enemy is capitalism. That's my enemy. Everybody else is just maybe somebody that's in the way that I just have to move out the way to get there. But if you're willing to take a shot at capitalism with me, then hey, let's group together and take a shot at capitalism. And so, but at the same time, here I have a question for you both.
Mm-hmm.
What if they did reach out and wanted to invite you on to talk? Would you be willing to go and talk and have dialogue about the issues?
Yeah, I would. Absolutely.
I would, but realistically, they're not going to. Like I said, like most of the time, you rarely see them bring black people on, and when you do, it's a certain type of black person.
Right.
So let's just be real.
True. You got a point.
Just, again, like I think it's about protecting their audience and their brand.
Protecting their brand and their audience. They can't have their audience hearing, like, wow, that person is talking a lot. You know what I mean? They can't have that on their show. So I get that. But let me read some of the comments. Go ahead, JB, as I put this on the screen. Go ahead.
But the question is, would it be a fear of that their audience would turn on them, or would it be a fear that their audience are going to like what we're saying, and then it's going to be a heel turn as far as who watches their content? Like, I'm trying to curious as to what that fear would be. And I know you both can't necessarily answer that question because, you guys don't really know their audience like that. But that's actually kind of a rhetorical question that I'm asking. It's like, what would it be? Like, what would that fear be? You know?
The fear would be them losing money. Some of these people
Yeah.
make like 20,000 a month on Patreon, you guys.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. So if your audience turns against you, that affects your money.
Yeah. There's a super chat by Bobby Duffy Govea says, if folks don't show up because this person, there is I'm sorry. If folks won't show up because this person is there, they're not a serious person. So that's what Bobby says. And the next super chat says this is from Andre Johnstone. Social Democrats and DSA refuse to recognize China's poverty alleviation because it shatters their narrative that social democracy is the best ideology. Plus, they are anti-communist. That's also a good point. Thank you very much, Andre.
Yeah.
Let
me just read a couple of comments from the poll. A friend of the show, I think the first one is Comrade Misty here.
Yeah.
Now, just so you know where it's from, this is from this poll. Is a coalition possible between the old left and the new left?
Yeah.
So her response was the old left is bought, makes a coalition highly unlikely. And I think that's what you were kind of speaking to, Sabrina, that, you know, they're getting paid. They have contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that is what it is. Let's look at the next comment here. Don't know this person, but I'll still read it. I am not sure it's fair to imply everyone in the old left is bought. Oh, this person is responding to her. Okay. Or Edward is responding to Comrade Misty. I am not sure it's fair to imply everyone in the old left is bought. If you mean the leadership of the old left is bought, I would not argue with that. I don't think the old and new left workers should stand side. I do think the old and new left workers, and that's kind of like what I'm getting to, is that not the people with the mics, but the people who listen to them. That old left, it's a possibility to team up with them. And maybe that's who, you know, we would be able to team up with. Let me see if there's any other comments that got big reaction, because it's a lot. I can't go through each one because it's a lot. Let me just see. Somebody made a quick meme. Who's the old left? Like this?
Gosh. No. Who did
that?
Somebody put something together real quick. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. I have this pop-up problem on here. But here it goes again. So who do they have? Let's go. Here we have on this graphic. That's David Doel, Sam Cedar. I can't tell who that is in the middle. That's Vouch right here.
I think that's Jeff Campbell in the middle.
That's Geoff.
Yeah.
Oh, Geoff.
Jeff. Yeah.
And then Cenk. And who? Oh, is this Bernie?
Yeah, Bernie in the back. They got
Bernie back there with
They put Bernie back there. Yeah.
Wow, these people have the propagandists and creators of G-Hive BS.
Damn.
That is a pretty cool. That is a pretty cool meme. I think that'll be the last comment, and we're coming to sort of the end of the stream. Typically, this is an hour 15 stream, but because of the topic, we had to talk about this. And this could be the beginning of a discussion. If maybe Case Study QB can be that bridge, because he knows him. I just saw him on David Doe's show, and I saw him on the Humanist show, the Humanist Report. Yeah. So maybe he could be the person that can get, because I literally think we can do a stream if we can get 20 or so of us on a stream, and we're just literally having a conversation about what we identify as the issue and how ways to work together moving forward, if it's possible. It's just a way of having a conversation if it's possible. But I'll go to Sabrina. Any final thoughts or comments on the topic? Anything? And then after that, shout out, your show for tomorrow. Shout out what's coming up next. I know we got the roundtable and all that stuff. So Sabrina, you have the floor.
Yeah, I won't be on a roundtable tonight because I'm actually doing an interview with Ryan Knight for his podcast. But I'll be back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll be on my channel tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Absolutely. And JB, any final comments on the topic? And if not, you can also shout out what you have coming up, JB.
So I'm going to, if possible, we have some super chats that we need to get to really quick. If I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, do you?
There's a critique from me. Michael Williams says James keeps saying these are good people, but you should not assume that. Some of these progressives have nasty freedom of speech and right-winger views on a lot of stuff. Careful who you partner with. And I understand what you mean. I try to err on the side of people are good by definition. It's just, you have to feel them out first. But at the same time,
this prompts a question for me,
sure.
though, and that is, who can the left build coalition with, but people who believe 100% the same?
Nobody.
That's the question. Because I have yet to hear any art leftists articulate specific people, groups, organization ideas that they're willing to compromise or team up with. And if we don't have that, we are never going to get what we want. I'm just saying, we don't have the numbers as pure leftists. We don't.
Yeah.
Like that is a empirical fact that we do not have those numbers. If we did, we would have already done the things we want to do because we're all ready to do it. So if we had the numbers to be successful in that, we would have done it. So what I'm saying is, I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is. So that's not what I'm saying, that I know what the answer is. I'm saying we need to develop, rules of coalition. I don't know if it's called rules of coalition, but like the boundaries of coalitions, like what's fine, because whatever topic, whatever you're fine with teaming up with, that group that's marginalized by that is going to be upset. You get what I'm saying? Like if you team up with, right wingers who don't believe that, police brutality is a thing, what are you going to do? If you team up with liberals who are fine with imperialism, but they're fine, but they want Medicare for all, they want us to have a minimum wage. You get what I'm saying? Like, what issue is okay for leftists? Otherwise, you're saying the only people we can team up with is 100% on board with what we're talking about. And we have that right now, and we're not winning with that.
That's a good show discussion, CJ.
Yeah.
Like what is the issue where you have to draw like a line?
Yeah. It's hard. I know it's hard because go ahead, JB. Sorry.
No. I'm just saying, like, that's a good question. It's like, where is that line? And what is the deal breaker? That's a good question.
I think we can't coalition build until that's defined. If you think about it,
that's true.
How are we gonna know who to coalition build if we don't know where the lines are?
Yeah.
Like this discussion, I was thinking, let's try to coalition build with the people whose policies closely align with ours. But then we start coming up, imperialism. These people ain't really into it. They are capitalists. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So then let's define what's okay. That to me is going to be extremely hard, because whatever you're okay with, I'm okay with somebody who is pro-life. Who is that going to get upset? Oh, I'm okay
Yeah.
with somebody who thinks that trans women aren't women. You get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
any issue you pick, that issue is going to make somebody in the coalition upset. Somebody who are already a part of the leftist community upset. So then how do we build a coalition? So I'll leave the stream with that kind of question to ponder, and the next time, because I do want to have that discussion with all you, more, not just me. I want to have it with possibly the two of you and more RBN people. But that is a topic we have to tackle. That we can't coalition build if we don't know what the boundaries are for coalition building. So
there's more super chats to get to really quick. Aspen Fallen says legal marijuana is now a major party. It's not a major party in Minnesota. They're currently recruiting candidates. CJ, how can I help them get to the upcoming third-party summit?
Oh, just I'll retweet the tweet about the third-party summit, and you can tag the person, or you can just make a comment and telling me how you're going to get them in contact with me. So I'll retweet that today. And as soon as the stream is over, I'll retweet that.
Let me see. Jarius says, as a very long-term TYT listener, the fear is losing their audience to folks like y'all. I just found you all, but y'all spitting facts. Thank you so much for that. There's some others that just came in. I'd make sure that I just don't want to miss all those as well. Because don't want to be rude. They came into our house and they gave us a little something. Let me make sure. Hang on. I'm trying to go up as far as I possibly can to the last one, because if I don't, then I'll miss some.
Yeah, because it'll start.
Yeah, because Okay. All right.
It scrolls out of your hand.
Okay. All right. So, all right, I got that one. Okay, so let's go to the next one. And thank you all for the super chats, by the way, because these help. But also, just to let you guys know, YouTube also takes a portion of these super chats. You guys can go to our Patreon if you guys want to give a little bit more. Cryptician says, CJ, there are many working class non-voters, convicted felons, independents, third-party voters, undocumented immigrants that make up a huge pool of support.
Keep that up there. That is absolutely true. There's several issues with a coalition like this, because some of these groups are being attacked with oppression, so it makes it hard for them to do anything. Convicting felons is one that sticks out to me. They're trying to stay above water, so you get what I'm saying? So that's hard. So this is when we get in the same thing for undocumented immigrants. They're not trying to be on anybody's radar to get deported. So you get what I'm saying? So I get that you're saying we have the physical bodies. The problem is these physical bodies are the ones that are under oppression, and we have different barriers that are stopping us from being able to do these things. But we're gonna keep going on if we keep getting these. But is this the last one, JB?
No. No. Sorry. No. Salgado says, check out Zoe Baker video on platform anarchism. We got a couple more.
Baker. Okay.
Yeah. Cryptician says, CJ, those groups alone amount to as many, if not more, support than Dems and Republicans.
That is absolutely true. Non-voters. There's a big block, millions of them.
Yeah. Johnny Jeffries says, you all are assuming that people on the thumbnail have the same goals as we do.
Ooh.
True.
That, I can't run away from that.
Yeah.
And then Marco says, let's remember that peaceful protests, boycotts, strikes, and sit-ins still work in making change. This is actually direct action that we talk about.
Yeah.
We talk about
We prefer this. Yeah, we prefer this than electoralism.
Yeah.
This is what we prefer. Absolutely.
Yeah. We're the outside people. So yeah, thank you everybody for the super chats. By
Yes.
the way, so
yeah. And thank you to everybody on Rockfin. We are streaming on Rockfin. Let me just switch over and see. Oh, we have a good amount that's watching us right now on Rockfin. Thank you for the tips, by the way. Mm-hmm. And thank you for everybody in the comments. We got to as many as we could. I mean, it was just over 500. It was a lot of comments. So sorry that we missed a ton of them. We will see when we can have this discussion about the lines drawing for coalition, because that is a very, very important conversation to have. Don't forget, it's about an hour rest and everybody comes back. There's like 350 people watching. All of you come back at 6 p.m. Eastern for the roundtable. JB, it's still going on though, even though a few people can't make it, or do we know?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'll be there.
Okay. Yeah. So come back. Come back in about an hour. Take a break, go smoke a bowl or something, and then come back. And I think we're gonna sign off here. I feel like the conversation. This is part one of this conversation. It feels like we didn't get to say everything we wanted to say, so maybe in a later conversation we'll be able to do that. Outside of that, thank you for everybody watching. We are going to be signing off from RBN. Thank you for watching. You left shit out.
Smoke him if you got him.